people don't leave companies for more money. They're leaving because they don't feel like they belong, right? They feel like they're leaving because they're not growing,
Sure.
right? They're leaving because they feel like that the founder or their department has lost sight of the purpose of the company, or maybe they don't feel a sense of purpose.
Well, guys, welcome to Chattanooga. You're here with us. We've got Mitchell and B with us from
Thanks.
NeWell.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having
Yeah.
us.
We're so excited you're
We're
here.
excited. We love it here.
That's
Me too.
awesome.
It's been almost 2 years since we've been here together, actually.
Oh, wow, yeah.
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 Well, welcome back.
Yeah.
We're here to have some conversations about a lot of different topics. But first, before we dive into everything, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us about NeWell, what you have going on.
Yeah. So we started NeWell, and it's essentially a kind of high level consulting and like service based company where we provide corporate wellness services as well as executive development and executive coaching, with the goal of helping companies to like mitigate turnover, which is we can dive into that. Like it's such a massive problem, especially on like the corporate kind of B2B enterprise level.
Yeah.
It's one of the largest expenses that any company will ever have. And it's avoidable, right? It's an avoidable one. And there's all these like direct and indirect costs of turnover. Not only are the hard costs of replacing people, but there's usually like collateral turnover.
Sure.
There's loss of internal knowledge. It also just kills culture and just causes more turnover. So, so we're solving this problem, and we do that through, our unique approach, but that's essentially what we do. And we do that on like the employee level and on the executive level. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Now, B, tell me a little bit about kind of your expertise and what you offer specifically with your background.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a background I used to be a human performance coach for a company. Basically, I did a lot of coaching in wellness. I mean, my background is in nervous system regulation and mindfulness. And with NeWell, I started out with helping with the creative direction of the company, but as we're developing NeWell's app, I hope to run the mindfulness department and really focus on the wellness aspect of of what we're offering, because
100%.
we believe it's important to grow our leadership teams and develop them. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I think there's such a need,
Yeah.
as companies evolve, and just I think the environment that we've come out of really over the last 5 years, COVID impacted a lot of just change and shifts in the workplace, but
Yes.
also around like wellness, specifically mental health and things like that. I think that's a huge area where companies are trying to have more of a focus.
Yeah.
But we may get to that in more detail a little bit later.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was actually going to ask Mitchell, like, talk to me about what's changed, like in 5 years in the landscape of the workplace. It's a completely different workplace, and the needs are different. So talk to me a little about what you've seen, the change that you've seen.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has changed just with time and how especially the younger you go, that the behaviors are a lot different in terms of job choice and career-based decisions. And so, for example, I think there was a study done I'd have to look this up, but I think it was like 2019 or between 2019 and like 2021, and they were looking at employee turnover across a lot of different industries. And so the millennial generation, over 69% of turnover for millennials specifically was all mental health related.
You're welcome.
Yeah, they're pretty wild, right? And then, but here it gets even more interesting, because then they assessed Gen Z, and over 81% was mental health related. So it's like this is a growing problem, and there's a clear culprit. And so then the question becomes, okay, well, like, what do you do about that? Usually it gets tossed to kind of like an HR problem. And you don't have these trained professionals, or they usually will just kind of comp, the first couple of visits to a therapist or something. But it's a growing problem, and it's not properly being like addressed.
Yeah. So when we talk about attrition, like, where are those people going? Like, when they leave, are they going to other companies? Are they working for themselves? Are they like, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, it's really everything. It's across the board. They're either they either look for a job that they can tolerate while they maybe try to start kind of their own side thing. Maybe they're wanting to be a content creator, maybe they just freelance, or A lot of them maybe will go back to school, or a lot of them will just, obviously find another job. And what's worse though is even if they find another job, more than 51% of active employees are like they're actively looking for another job.
Mm.
So there's like not just this issue of like the obvious problem of turnover happening, but there's this issue of engagement
Mm.
of them being engaged at work, loving what they do, and showing up and giving 100%. And so again, it's just not being properly addressed.
Mm.
So the old corporate culture was you left your personal life at home
Mhm.
and you came to work.
Yeah.
And I think as the generations have gone, the years have gone, we know that those two always overlap now.
Yeah.
And so how much of a responsibility is it for the company to make sure that their employees are receiving what is needed for their wellness and their well-being?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. Like I think the compartmentalization is kind of like an old school thing, and I think it's happening less and less. And I do actually think that that's a good thing. I think that to thrive in life, you got to have an integrated life. Like this over compartmentalization I think is really maybe not the cause, but it's definitely a proponent of a lot of these anxiety issues and happiness issues, right? And so again, I think it's a good thing. And so I think it is on the responsibility of a company, if they want to get the best out of their team, create an environment where you get the best out of your team. And I think that that's done through what I kind of called like my version of it is like a retention formula, which is I talked about this a lot. It's belonging, it's growth, purpose, and then trust. So like people don't leave companies for more money. In fact, this was actually a study done by I think Gallup, where they took like I forget, but it's like thousands of employees and offered them a $10,000 raise. But the only thing on one contingency was that they had to work with one negative person, and over like 78% of them, you can look up the numbers, like 70 something, turned it down. Like they didn't want to do it. So again, it's like career is more than money. And so people aren't, again, these employees aren't leaving companies because they want more money. They're leaving because they don't feel like they belong, right? They feel like they're leaving because they're not growing,
Sure.
right? They're leaving because they feel like that the founder or their department has lost sight of the purpose of the company. Or maybe they don't feel a sense of purpose. And then the last one, like I said, was trust. They don't trust that if they show up well, that they'll get recognized for being the best, or getting compensated. Or compensation is part of it, but they want to get recognized and seen if they show up and do well, right?
Yeah.
And so they need to trust that the company is based on merit.
Sure.
Yeah.
One thing you said about sometimes companies will just throw that to HR and like let HR handle that. Are you
Right.
saying like in your field, as you're consulting with these companies, that they actually have a budget to do that? Like, are they having to kind of create some of the budget and resources to help the employees? Because as you're talking, this makes total sense in my head, but at the same time, I know that a lot of companies aren't there yet.
Right.
So what does that look like, as far as them creating the tools and resources? Is their budget available? Do you go in and coach them to be like, okay, let's figure out where we can come up with the resources?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think it's again across the board, right? Like
Sure.
some of them, I think that especially depending in maybe like where, at least where in the U.S., it's more common for companies like, let's say, like in California, to have like some sort of wellness budget. But again, I don't think they necessarily see that. They don't see the wellness and the retention and the executive coaching. Like they don't see that like connected, right? So there might be like a wellness, some sort of wellness budget, but that's separate from these other budgets, and they really should all be together. Like they should see this as like a retention problem, and then like and again allocate budget towards it. But then some companies, like they're not even thinking about having some sort of wellness budget. So I think it's a little bit of everything. Like we might have to convince a company through proper like coaching and leadership that they need to either have a budget, grow the budget, what have you. So.
Or lose the employees, right?
yeah.
Well, I feel
like
That's the
it's
alternative.
almost like a shifting of resources. Like you don't want attrition, you don't want your people leaving. So like,
Right.
what is it worth to a company?
Yeah.
To invest in their employees. I'm like, if I can move the money around, so I'm not having to constantly use resources to rehire, train,
Exactly.
and put time into employees, I'd put it into their wellness. I would put it into leadership
Retention.
development and retention. Like that is where you build the value in your company.
Oh yeah. Across the board, I think industry standard is somewhere between 1.5 to 2x the annual salary to replace. So like if you're, you have some executive and you pay them, $180K a year up to like whatever, it could be $500,000 plus. It's like, okay, well just 1.5 2 times their annual salary is what it's going to cost to replace them. And that, again, that doesn't even count for the indirect cost, like of, if one person leaves, other people want to leave, or they're,
Sure.
yeah.
You're investing in better leaders too, people that want to stay in the company. And then if you're investing in your employees, then they'll actually be able to grow the company and propel the company forward and build up the culture in the workplace so they don't lose employees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So B, what are you seeing on the wellness side that people are needing? And I always feel this when it comes to wellness and mental health, people don't even know what they need, right? It's hard for them to identify what they need. So what are some things that you're seeing that's really helped in that process, and managing anxiety, managing the stress, managing the work-life balance? Like, what does that kind of look like? Yeah.
I think since COVID, there was a rise in burnout and anxiety and stress. And I think investing in employees' wellness and mindfulness and really teaching them how to self-regulate, how to build more resilience in their nervous system is actually really beneficial. I mean, there's been a study that recently, I can't recall who it is, but maybe we can find it after, but basically at a hospital, there was workers that just started to feel a lot of burnout and a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. And so they developed an app where they had them practice like 10 minutes of mindfulness every day, and about 63% of them at the end of the 3 months reported a lot less anxiety, even more of a sense of purpose, more clear direction, more energy. And so that I do believe that it's important to invest in wellness and really develop understand that by neglecting your fundamental needs, you're actually nurturing more I guess stress and challenge. And so if you're taking care of your fundamental needs, like your energy levels, your sleep quality, your nervous system, your mindset, you're actually building more resilience in your nervous system. And I think that's important.
So 10 minutes a day. That, I think when companies think about wellness, they think like they have to do all these things or give this much time off the clock. That's not a lot of time to see that type of improvement. Like, are there more things that can be implemented in that way that you feel like would really help somebody regulate their nervous system? Like, is there things that, like, less than 20 minutes that we could do?
Even understanding how to do a physiological sigh, which is a double inhale through your nose followed by a long extended exhale through your mouth. If you just do 3 of those, you're actually reducing your heart rate. So basically, when you're in that state of anxiety, your heart rate is going fast, right? And then your body's tensed up and your mind is cluttered. And so by just taking 3 breaths where you're in the present moment and you're really feeling your body and you're relaxing your nervous system and you're exhaling, as long as the exhales are longer than your inhales, you're basically I can't think of the word, like
Just demonstrate.
I was gonna say, should we all do?
Yeah.
We totally
Should we all do breathing? It's gonna probably kept me at my job.
Why can't I think of the word? Your heart rate is slowed down,
Sure.
basically. And so when you slow down your heart rate, you're reducing the stress and the anxiety in your body. So you just have to understand your body, basically your physiology. And it's really simple, but it does affect us in a really deep level, because once we're in that state of anxiety, it's really hard to get out of it, and you're not really understanding that it's your physiology, because when we're worrying and we're stressing, we're thinking about, oh, well, what do I need to do? I'm really anxious, and it just develops a loop of stress and anxiety, and you don't realize that, oh, wait, actually, this is just my nervous system. And
So the answer is not a Xanax or energy drink.
No.
That's what you're saying.
Sometimes before you go there, it's probably your sleep quality or your breathing.
Sure.
Or even we can go deeper.
Go into deeper.
But that's kind of what we want to help people understand, is that we cannot neglect those fundamental needs, because they actually affect you on a bigger level.
So Mitchell, what do you think the future of wellness looks like?
Yeah, I mean, so a second ago you were asking about the difference, kind of brought up like compartmentalization, versus integration, and I think wellness it should be integrated, right? When people want to do more of something, and there's friction to do it, right? It sounds pretty basic. For example, I'll use an example. So when I met B, I was like very fit. Like I looked great.
He looked great, guys.
I did. I was like probably the fittest I've
He
ever
loves
been.
talking about this.
Yeah, well, and I lived in this building. Like it's pretty fundamental. It's just basic, but it's like I lived in this building in Scottsdale, and the gym was really nice, and it was there, and it was literally like a professional gym. I mean, it had everything you needed.
That's awesome.
You
It's
had
a
like
really great gym.
Stairmaster, the treadmills, you had the squat rack, you had all the bands, and you had, I mean, everything you possibly needed. It was a great gym, and I was
Do you
I
miss
would.
it? He's talking about it like
Yes.
he's
Oh,
explaining
I
it.
miss it
He
so
misses
much.
it. Yeah.
So-
It's a thing though. We were talking about functional fitness
Yes,
the
we
other
were.
day.
Yeah.
Like, I love it.
Yeah. So it was great. And so it was so easy to just get very, very fit. Like it was right there. I just walk, and it just grew to be part of my lifestyle. And then like the other cool thing was there started to be a sense of community. Like
Sure.
once I moved there, like this gym, or sorry, the apartment complex I was at is called the Optima. And so there's, a lot of like young entrepreneurs there, and there's like this community. And so we start going together, and it just became part of my lifestyle, my like
Yeah.
social lifestyle. And I got very fit. And then I moved out, and I got a house, and I thought, like, again, pros and cons. I love the house. Like if you don't want to see people, it's amazing.
We-
Like,
We were
Yeah.
5 minutes from a really amazing gym.
Yeah, I know.
though, but
But I'm saying, like the friction to like get in the car,
Yeah.
go to the gym,
Yeah.
check in, put my stuff in the locker. Like I would find myself talking myself out of going, be like, oh, I'll go later. And then I don't go later. And then I'll go tomorrow. And then I don't go. Right. So there's this friction. And there's this principle of like, if you want to do something, remove the friction, make it very sustainable, very easy.
Yeah.
And you'll find yourself doing it more, especially if there's a sense of like social connection through that process. So I think especially in the workplace, if you can cultivate a sense of community and like some social connection and integrate it to where it's very easy, like you said, like 10 minutes, right? Like what if everybody in a certain department just like paused and did a very short mindfulness session, just like very like a physiological sigh, or like some breath work, whatever. And you realize like your like productivity would increase, anxiety would decrease, retention would increase. Like it's such an easy investment. So yeah, I think it needs to be integrated. I also think tech and AI have a really big part to play in that. And that's one thing that we provide is like an app and a platform to make it, frictionless, make it very easy, connect people, using tech and AI, and make it very like accessible. I think AI is like helping with that process a lot. Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about AI, because me and Taryn were talking about the future of AI in regards to, does AI help with removing some of the friction?
100%. Yeah. I mean, if you can, one thing that we're developing right now is like this AI therapist, right? So it'll be, again, if you think about, I think a lot of people are going to think that an AI therapist is going to replace actual therapists, and it's not, right? They're not going to replace, at least not for a long time, in my opinion.
it's just a tool.
Yeah, well, it makes it's very accessible. Think about it, like let's say when you really need to talk to a therapist, right? Are they typically available like right away?
No, that's
Yeah,
not
that's kinda-
usually.
that's
it's like
kinda
you're
the-
booking it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, I'm going to see you at my next session, or I have to book a session, and it's a week out. So the great thing about AI therapists is it can be trained and it can be on demand, right? It's like you can just talk right away, right? In an app, you go to whatever, your car or whatever. Imagine you're at work, or like you're in your office or whatever. You just talk to a therapist that's trained by professionals, and it can kind of help you to navigate those emotions, maybe practice some emotional granularity, maybe walk you through a mindfulness session. And so, and again, imagine like what we have is we have these like resources, like for example, maybe like a guided session by B on practicing a physiological sigh, for example. And let's say you're talking to the AI therapist. Well, the AI therapist has access to all of that, content and stuff, and these like premium content. And so it can provide that session. It can guide you through talking about it, and then recommends the session. So again, it's very advanced and it's very on demand. And I think AI is like helping with those things to kind of have a knowledge base in addition to being programmed with the right kind of language models and things.
It's also a great way to like identify the thought patterns that are causing you to have anxiety, because you can do a 5-minute breathwork exercise and reduce the anxiety in the present moment, but then tomorrow you're going to feel anxious again because you don't really understand what are some of the habits or the loops that are, or the thought patterns that are causing you that anxiety. And so if you go to AI and you tell it, oh, this, I always feel anxious when something's coming up. I don't know why. Or, you know, you can give it all of the experiences that you've had that have caused you a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and it can help you identify that core deep thought pattern or that deep issue, and that you can then have more awareness around that so that you can prevent the anxiety or the stress to even get there in the first place. Like the breath work and the mindfulness is a good tool to do in the moment to help your body, but then you also want to identify the core issues so that you don't ever even have to experience it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's such a smart idea because
Yeah.
in my mind I'm thinking like the old school like corporations that are really behind, and I'm
Yeah.
just envisioning like this HR person that has no clue what to do, but they realize the company from the top down has been like, hey, we need to put more emphasis here. And then you have the HR person like having zero clue how to lead any type of breathing exercises, much less
Right.
providing some kind of resource. So it's such a smart way. I love how the pairing of the science, but also with the tech to really provide companies the tools that they need to be successful and get their employees to just a level of comfortability and productivity as well.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
so smart.
it's like a, I know it's like, I think using technology and the right approach, you can get the what everybody wants, right? Every company wants higher impact, lower cost.
Yeah,
And it's like, that's exactly what tech is allowing us to do, is higher impact and also to lower cost by digitizing it and using tech and AI.
Making it accessible.
So in the big picture of things too, I think a trend that's happening is I don't think everybody wants to be on medication. Everyone doesn't want to take that route. And so what we're seeing is hey, what are some other ways to regulate what's actually happening? And so probably not great for big farm, but there's this hope, a more natural approach, because even with, I think sometimes medication, not for everybody, it helps, right? And so people are looking, that seems like an extreme, what can I do? And I feel like everyone's in that middle. Well, I don't think I'm that anxious. I don't think I'm that nervous. I don't think I'm that depressed. And so they hesitate to get any medical attention. But even with these things, it's backed by science and studies. And so I think there's power in that.
Oh yeah, I think that's something we believe in, because usually people will feel depressed and they'll be like, okay, I should probably go to a psychiatrist and I should probably get on medication or something. But I believe medication might be necessary, but that's like the very last resort. And then therapy might be necessary, but sometimes you just feel depressed because your diet is really bad, or you have really bad habits. You don't take care of your fundamental needs, your community, your energy, your just stress levels. And so that's why we believe like fundamental needs comes first, which is the sleep quality, nutrition, the mindfulness, all of that. Then perhaps you want to go deeper in therapy and talk therapy or deeper self-awareness techniques. And then if that also doesn't work, then maybe you do need medication. But usually it's rare for people to actually need medication.
Like mental, 100%, like mental health is not purely mental.
Correct.
You know, it's like we can't have that conversation about mental health without us talking about physiology, even like spirituality, right? There's so many studies on that fact that, you know, actually like practicing like, for example, there was actually a study done, I believe it was by Oxford, I think, that looked at like over like 100,000 like registered nurses and physicians and surgeons and all this, and they did like this very in-depth study of the it was also during a study where they're trying to figure out the problem for this this thing called like deaths of despair, right? Which means it's a death that's associated with someone who lost the will to live. And these, if you look historically, these are on the rise, right? This could be an overdose. This could be liver failure because of alcohol poisoning. It could be suicide. And so any sort of these deaths, and like this has been on the rise for some time. And so they're trying, there was a lot of these like experts that are trying to figure out what's going on and like why are these on the rise. And it kind of, you know, it makes perfect sense once they like did the study, but they looked at all these people and then had them practice some sort of like, you know, spirituality. And most of the cases, it was like, just go to church like once a week, right? Or twice a week. And like, that's it. Like, it's not, it's like, just go do that.
Even
and
the community aspect
yeah,
of that,
exactly.
because we just need
because it's exactly, it's more
Yeah.
holistic than you think.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, again, going to church isn't just a spiritual practice. It's a social community practice. It's as well as spiritual. It's as well as mental. And so there's many reasons to do it, but they did this, and there's staggering results of many of them feeling, less depressed, many of them not needing to cope with the depression as much by engaging in maybe some sort of substance or something. And many of them getting back like just hope, overall happiness, the willingness to live, all these things. And
Purpose.
again, it's exactly, so it is spiritual because if you think of death of despair, if somebody loses a sense of meaning in their life, they lose the will to live. And if they can feel a sense of meaning in their life again, then the will to live comes back, which again increases energy and drive and ambition, which is the opposite of depression, right? Depression is anhedonia, which is like losing the drive and the ambition. So again, it's holistic. Like if we're going to talk about mental health, we have to talk about spirituality. We also have to talk about the psychology side. We also have to talk about the nervous system, like you were saying, and like and the physiology. Yeah, people battling depression, sometimes you just need to like stop eating certain things.
Stop scrolling on social media
Yeah,
late at night.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like fix your dopamine, like fix your nervous system, fix the diet, move your body, like these things. You need a holistic approach, and I think that's why, when people ask about like what we do in corporate wellness, it's like, no, I don't think it's enough just to make an AI therapist. And I don't think it's enough just to put together like fitness plans and movement plans and workshops. And no, I don't think it's enough just to help with the leadership. It's like, it's like all of these things together is what helps a company thrive, because that's what helps a human being thrive. Yeah.
And there are companies that are addressing components of this, like Calm is addressing the mindfulness, but that's about it. And then there's like Exos is addressing a lot of the fitness and the nutrition aspect of things, but they don't really address the spirituality, which is important. Then there's like companies
Peloton,
like Pray.com that address the spirituality. Peloton addresses the fitness. So they're all hitting an important components of this issue, but they're not.
It's not holistic.
It's not holistic. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna change gears real quick because this is up my niche right now.
Okay.
Executive coaching.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason I say this is because I have seen the trends recently, and so my background is taking small businesses into big businesses, and I've noticed that executive coaching. There's two. I think people have two opinions about it. You have the executives that think I'm already executive. I don't need any coaching.
Sure.
I'm already here.
Yeah.
I think we've all experienced that.
Yeah. As the entire company is crumbling. The entire company is crumbling. Or I always see these people are like, I need this. And what I see is what I would consider a very accelerated growth in a business very quickly because they've taken on coaching. And so is this the future of 100%. Corporate America?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think John Maxwell said it well. He said everything rises and falls on leadership. Yeah. And so I usually in many cases in my career, I've had to like go into a failing department that's in the red, bleeding cash, losing people, and like fix it, right? Just like take it over, fix it. And usually I like to look at people, right? I like to look at process, and I like to look at tech, right? People, process, tech. So if I can look at all three, but again, that's quite a common approach. I think that's maybe even if you don't say it that way, that's usually people are kind of thinking, okay, I'm going to look at the people, I'm going to look at the process, and let me see, can we fix things with tech? But more than anything, it's just a change in leadership, or at least, and that doesn't necessarily mean like changing like swapping out a person per se, but at least just fixing the leadership model. And that one thing can like make a company thrive, right? And so, yeah, I think everything rises and falls on leadership. And I think if you're a leader, like, it's like, you're kind of like a mental athlete, right? Like if you're a leader and you're in leadership, you're practicing mental chess all day long. And if you were to talk to a professional athlete, for example, and say, like, do you need to like, do you continue to like work out? Like, do you continue to like practice your sport? Or like, duh, like, are you kidding me? If I stop sharpening my axe and practicing my craft, I'm not gonna be a pro for very long. That's what makes a pro.
Yeah.
A pro is constantly moving forward, consistently progressing, getting better at what they do. And so, yeah, if you're in leadership, you should have some outside help, someone giving you, again, every athlete has a coach, right? Every team has a coach. And so, yeah, you need a coach. You need development. You need someone who's outside, far away enough from the problem and can kind of see, you know, not inside the bottle. What's that saying? You can't see the label from inside the bottle. Like, you got to zoom out and have someone help you to see things a different way and
Yeah.
challenge you. Yeah.
One thing that comes to mind as you're talking about this is, you know, thinking about an athlete is the discipline part
Yeah.
of it. You talked about the gym earlier. There's an accountability factor when you have that outside party or when you have that gym community. And so I think sometimes as leaders, you get so removed from it that you lose that accountability, you lose that discipline. So you're not practicing like an athlete would. And it's like you as a leader, you were saying there's constantly like a mental, you know, not a battle necessarily, but you have to be very self-aware.
Yeah.
But if you don't have someone that's coming in to help hold you accountable in
Right.
those areas, you can kind of just slowly move away from even the places where you would like to be because you don't have the accountability piece.
Yeah.
Coaches
100%.
need coaches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what do you say to somebody who's like, well, I built this business. I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. Because I know some people. So I already know if I
We all
was,
do.
I know some people. So if I was to come to them, hey, I think you could really use some executive coaching.
Yeah.
Hey,
I think it could really help you in life in general. It's like, how do you have that conversation with somebody? It's like, hey, I've done it this way my whole life. Like, I'm good. But you see that they're like you can tell, like in personal life, they're crumbling. The business is slowly coming apart. The culture is getting whisper toxic. And like, how do we encourage somebody to step into that without them feeling like they're inadequate? Like coaching doesn't, like, I feel like there's an inadequacy. Oh, you're getting coaching because you don't know what you're doing. But I would actually say, you know what you're doing, therefore you're getting coaching. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great question because it's going to be different for different people. I think I'm just curious what's their fear. Like, if I was talking, I'm like, what are you afraid of? Like, they're like, well, what? Like what? Like, is there really that big of a downside to just get some support and some outside perspective and to challenge you in the way you're doing things, maybe offering some new frameworks, some new approaches? Like, there's usually not a big downside, but there's a downside to just doing nothing. Like, and I think that's the big thing. Like, coaching, even sales, like you're just teaching people how to think, and in its simplest form, right? And I think if I were to have a conversation with someone who's like struggling with this, whether it's a sales conversation or they're already one of my clients and I'm coaching them or whatever, I'm just challenging the way that they think and I'm teaching them how to think. And I think on this topic, when someone's trying to make a decision, they usually think that, like, okay, here I am, and if I do the thing, then that's like, I may end up over here, right? And if I don't do it, then I'm back at the same position. And I think that comes with an assumption that like things will always stay the same if you don't do something. And the truth is, that's not true.
That's not
no,
true.
like there is a risk in not making a decision. And so you have to kind of go down that path and play it out with them. And I'd say, so let's say that, like, let's say, okay, your turnover rate is, whatever, 32%. And, your profit is diminishing at this rate. And like, your whatever, revenue's down, sales are down, all this stuff. So like, let's just play this out 6 months from now, 12 months from now. Like, and I try to like quantify the problem. Like, this problem's costing you, $267,000 like a month. And maybe that's counting opportunity cost, maybe it's not. But either way, like, this is the problem. And if you do nothing, there is a result, and you need to play that out. You need to look 2 steps ahead, 5 steps ahead. Like, what's not just the first order consequence, but the second, third, fourth, fifth order consequence. And I think that's what usually will help someone to just, it's like to just, I guess, come back to reality. And you're not perfect,
Right.
and like, we all need help, and like, you need to look at your problem objectively. And so, yeah, I think there's usually some sort of subjective bias that they think that things are just gonna stay the same if they don't. But like, by not making a decision, you are making a decision. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I was just curious. I know some people.
I feel like people have to have a teachable mindset for
Yeah.
them to even like come to you for help. But a lot of the times they'll come to you because they want help making more money. But then as you develop them, they realize that they should probably just be better leaders. And there's so much that they can do themselves as leaders to like develop their teams.
100%. And I think there's also it's almost like I think a lot of people like maybe assume that results in fixing the problem is going to take like a very long time, and that may be true, but I think they think underestimate was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
They underestimate how quickly things can improve. You know, like it can happen so quickly.
We've been talking about shift, haven't
Yeah,
we?
it's like
Yeah.
if they only
Yeah.
they
So
shift
do you ever
their
come across
mindset.
a scenario where like a leader, an executive leader or CEO is like, hey, yeah, come in, help me, but it has nothing to do with me. Like fix the problem without outside of me. Is that common? And how do we coach somebody into like, hey, actually no,
It
like
involves you.
it involves you.
You're the
Yeah.
problem.
Like how do we do that? Like
Yeah, well, I'll give you an example. So I had two clients, and this is like the tale of two clients. The tale of two clients. I had these two clients. One
it was
had
the best of times and the worst of times. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and they both had a significant problem with their sales team and leadership team and kind of culture. It was like very much the same thing going on, and this massive problem of profit. So again, two scenarios, both of them, they're doing, you know, revenue is going up, but they're making like less money every month, and in terms of profit. So this is a big problem, and they're trying to fix it. And so one of them wants me to just come in and hop on like the team meetings and like coach the sales manager and, you know, and like the client success director, just coach them. Like it has nothing to do with him, coach them. And then the other one was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. And like, I need some help. Like, I just need, just tell me what to do. I'll do whatever it takes. Okay. One, like nothing changes for months. Okay. It takes a long time, costs a lot of money. They had to do layoffs and like cut all these costs, and it was massive. Right. And huge opportunity cost. Finally, we did turn it around, but it was finally when he did what the other client did, which this client right away, they hadn't hit, there was a profit goal that they wanted to hit, and they haven't hit it in years. Literally, he was like, if we can just get back to that like number, I'd be so happy. And we did it in 6 weeks.
Wow.
So
Wow.
6 weeks.
That's quick.
And you know what's crazy? We didn't change anything with the ads or the advertising or the promotions. We didn't change like literally nothing. There was a small tweak in the sales process we made, but most of it was just helping him to lead his department leaders well.
Wow.
What do you
That's
think
crazy.
was the mindset barrier between the other one, and what's the strength of the one that did improve?
Humility.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking about it too is the vulnerability. Like that person, that leader had to be vulnerable and be self-aware enough of the issues that were going on to be like, I got to own this. I got to fix it. I need help.
Yeah.
It requires a humility. It requires a vulnerability in order to address it versus the other client who maybe eventually got to that place of humility.
Yeah. Eventually.
He had to. He was forced to.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah, it was like you're staring down the barrel of a gun, and it's like it's a little easier to be humble, you know.
Wow, compared to a 6-week turnaround.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah. So a question for both of you guys, and y'all can both chime in on this. So when people think about coaching, they think about acquiring information that they don't know. But how much of the coaching that you're doing is the unlearning of what they already know?
Yeah. I mean, it's so much of it. I mean, that's such a good question. I don't have some like number or whatever, but that is very much what it is. It's just unlearning, you know, getting rid of bad habits, bad patterns, and then
you have to.
Yeah.
Like the only way to develop new habits is to get rid of the old. And so I think that is a constant journey of learning new skills and unlearning the old patterns and the old cycles. Otherwise, you'll always stay stuck in the same.
Yeah, like you probably see that a lot with helping people, you know, their performance or just health or fitness. It's
we all struggle with that.
It's like there's a lot of like you probably
we have
know
patterns
more
that we're used to, and it's really hard to break them. But
Yeah.
once you do, then and you fill those patterns with new ones, that's how change happens. So
Well, I think unlearning requires disconnecting from a belief system you have.
and a comfortability.
Yeah, and so now you have to unbelieve what you used to believe. And I think that's why, even with nutrition or discipline of exercising, or even to getting to bed on time, like the value of that, I think there is a belief system attached to that. And so I think sometimes with people, we find that, okay, where did that belief come from? Like, did you grow up that way? Did you think it was like, did you see your parents do it? Like, what's created this belief that going to sleep at midnight, grabbing a burger through the drive-thru and you're going to feel great in the morning to get up to wake up the kids and get them to school.
Yeah.
And you're dragging. And so it's the belief system. And I think attacking that is sometimes a little bit more complicated because people have to be self-aware.
Yeah.
They have to be self-aware. And we're noticing, it's a word, it's a new word. Self-awareness, awareness of others, authenticity, all these words that are just like words everywhere, but really that's what it is.
And it does require that humility and vulnerability, but our brains change, and with neuroplasticity, you can change your habits. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, this is just the way I am, I can't change, but you really can. You just have to have that vulnerability, that humility to understand something that's harmful and be able to let it go.
Yeah, there's this sorry, I didn't mean
no, you're fine.
Yeah, there's this like concept called correction versus protection. And it kind of comes from this idea that, for example, if you're on like a plane, right, and the pilot's flying the plane and like taking it to the destination, and there's this idea, right, that it's technically that plane is off course like 98% of the time. It's off course, and it's just constantly making these like corrections. And if you just keep making the corrections, eventually you arrive at the destination. Versus someone who doesn't see it that way, right? They might see these as like critiques and then go into protection mode, and that's oftentimes what a lot of these like either CEOs or leaders will do. Is they see being challenging the way that they're thinking as like a critique or something, and then they just go into protection. They just defend, and then they just it's like you keep doing that, and like when you should have made a correction, but you just keep defending, like you're gonna go way off course and never arrive at your destination. And so it does require a lot of humility and a lot of and the crazy thing is if you look at the highest performing teams, again, like you look this up yourself. I mean, some of the best companies, like Google, for example, or like Pixar, like Pixar. Let's just use Pixar as an example. I mean, do you understand like the chances of a studio making like a blockbuster film? Like, I don't know the number. But it's very slim.
I thought he was going to come with a number.
No.
He didn't. Okay,
It's like, I don't know.
We'll look it up later.
But it's like, I mean, just think of how many films are made in existence, and then how many of them ever end up being like a success. I mean, let alone some massive blockbuster. And well, and the Pixar did it. And then guess what? They did it again. And they did it again. And they did it again. And they did it again. At some point, it's like, okay, this is obviously not chance. This is like, you guys have a system of like a system that no other studio like obviously can emulate, or maybe they've tried, I don't know. But like there's a system there. And then it's like, I get curious, like what's the system? Like how do they get these like creative people in a room? And you ever meet like an artist? They like just defend their art all day, right? It's like, just like anybody. Yeah, their egos are high. Like they're like, no, if you don't like it, you don't understand. And it's like, you don't understand. It's like, this is, art is, what is the beauty is in the beholder or whatever. The eyes of it's like, it's crazy, right? So imagine they get these like creative people in one place and consistently have a system for releasing just a huge blockbuster. They've done it over and over again. And so if you ever look into like what they do, they have this process called a brain trust. And they get all these, it's once a week, and they get everybody into a room. And it's like, they literally say, like, leave your ego at the door. There's no hierarchy here, right? And it doesn't matter what your role is. I don't care your seniority or whatever. Like, you come in, everyone's on the same level playing field, and they review whatever the writers and animators, like, did that week and just rip it apart. Like, everybody's brutally honest. Like, that sucks. Like, this sucks. And they talk about how from the conception of Up, right, to the end product, they said like the only thing that stayed the same was the name. Like that's how many
That's
times.
a great movie too.
It is a great
film, right? They said literally the original idea, everything changed.
That's
the only
so
thing that
crazy.
changed.
I wonder what the original was.
I know, but it
But
was like
apparently
It's an amazing movie.
yeah, but it was like
Doesn't work out.
exactly over and over and over again. They just they changed it, improved it, and improved it, and improved it. They saw it as corrections, and eventually arrived at this amazing film, right?
I'd like for you to share about cultures. I think that's a culture.
Yeah,
right.
It's a culture of
You always talk about how important it is to shift culture. Can you share more about that?
Well, yeah, I see culture as I think if we throw around that name, I mean, you guys are probably very well aware, right? There's so many, like, to one person it may mean something else, right?
Yeah.
It's so often it's viewed as like, okay, we got like ping pong tables and we got the core values on the wall and like culture, right? We have culture. They see it as more as like an
Everywhere I've ever worked.
We were talking about this earlier. Pizza parties.
Yeah, pizza parties.
culture.
Yeah, pizza party. Oh man.
I don't eat pizza and I don't like it.
Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Go
Right,
ahead.
corporate wellness, pizza party.
Pizza party.
Yeah, we care about culture. We care about you. No,
But get
like-
your BMI down. So your insurance rates are cheaper, by the way. But we're going to give you pizza.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. We
Go
said
No, yeah,
we
that's
sidetracked
funny.
you.
No, that's-
But exactly. The word culture, if we say that, it just means so many different things to different
Yeah.
people. I mean, and I like to, I use the term, team dynamics or organizational health or culture, right? These are like interchangeable because they are. And it's like in its purest form, I like to just say in its purest form, like the way your team works together will make or break your company.
Mhm.
100%. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you could look at the military, right? They have a mission, and you can have the best talent in that group, right? Soldiers, right? Or squadron, or whatever you want to call it. But if they don't work together well, it could end in tragedy, right? And not to mention just not being successful at the mission. Same thing with a company. Same thing with like again, a community, a nation. Like it doesn't matter, but like the way the team works together determines the success of that group, of that team. And so we might say culture, and like that's what I'm referring to. I'm not talking about enthusiasm or morale or excitement or motivation. It's the way the team works together, and that is everything. And so like I like to study this on like a scientific level and try to the best of my ability equip our clients and our own team, equip them with the tools and the resources and the knowledge. How do we work together even better? Like how do we distribute information in the most efficient way possible? How do we keep everyone cohesive and aligned and in sync as much as possible? How do we make decisions quicker and better decisions? Do you have a process for making decisions? Like, these are things that, again, make or break a company. And I see it all the time. The one client I told you about where it took months to like just make any progress. I'm telling you, like, it's painful, like the decision-making process. Like I'm talking, decisions just wouldn't get made. It just wouldn't. And all the information was always shared on a meeting. And it's like, that's the only place you share information is on a meeting. Like, it's like, no wonder you're moving slow, right? You have one leadership meeting a week and you guys don't have these, like a better way of communicating ideas and concepts and challenging each other or whatever in a better way. Like these are all things that slow a company down, and you will fail. Like if you can't make decisions fast enough. I think it was Bezos who said, like, for example, I think he said, if you wait until you have about 70% of the information you wish you had, you made the decision. It took too long to make the decision, right? So you have to learn. You have to have a process to make decisions quickly. And so I think culture, again, organizational health, team dynamics, the way your team works together is everything. And you should take that seriously. I think if you are a leader at all, you should take that seriously. And I mean, that doesn't just apply to business, like the culture of a community, the culture of a city, the culture of a church, the culture of your home, the culture of your marriage, the culture of your family. Like the way you guys communicate and work together is everything. Yeah.
That's good.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I was just thinking too, like, for somebody that might be listening to this conversation, like as a leader, what are some like practical things without going deep into the coaching side, but if they're only having like a meeting once a week, for example, what are like just a couple of practical things that they might do differently? It could involve tech, or it could involve like some other touch points. Like what would that look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, gosh, the list.
It's probably long.
Yeah. Well,
But-
okay. So I like to, again, it's a loaded topic, and it's a lot of times kind of case by case. But again,
Sure.
I like to boil, again, like culture down to, well, there's multiple trains of thought. I'll share this first. I referred to it earlier. It's like belonging, right? Another word for that might be psychological safety. I think it's kind of what Google calls it. They've done their own kind of experiments and studies with their own teams to identify the best teams and to identify the best managers. And there's always this theme of like psychological safety. I kind of call it belonging. Someone needs to feel psychologically safe to share their opinion without being humiliated, without being shut down, without things like that. So there's got to be some psychological safety, belonging. People need to feel like they're growing. Growth. That's the second one. Growth. If they're not, Tony Robbins says progress is happiness, right? So if the minute you feel like you're not growing, you're not getting better, especially A players. Like you get the best of the best. Like there's typically they have so much competition and competitive energy with themselves. Like they need to feel like they are growing. If they stopped growing, they leave, right? And so the growth, that's the second one. And then purpose. They need to feel like there's some sort of purpose beyond profit. I know right now some like wildly talented individuals that are like I mean I know because they hit me up for jobs all the time, but it's like they're typical because I just know people, not just to work for me, but like they know people like, hey, do you know anyone hiring? And it's like I could literally count on two hands how many of them just hit me up in the last like 3 or 4 weeks. And it's like it's all the time they're leaving because the culture of the company, they've lost sight of the purpose beyond profit. They feel like they're just there, there's the number, their job is just to produce cash, make the founder rich. Yeah, they're not going to stay. So again, purpose. And then the last one's trust. They need to feel like they can trust their team and they feel like it's a true meritocracy. And so that's kind of the, belonging, growth, purpose, trust. Those are the 4 I like to talk about. And so you have to find ways to cultivate that, right? Make sure they're growing. So you have like a way that you sync with your team. This could be literally in written form. It could be a meeting. I think sometimes people the meetings get out of hand, but if you're not having enough meetings, maybe start having meetings and then maybe find a system to kind of wind the meetings down. One of the ways that we operate internally is, believe it or not, is we just have this working doc that we use all the time. We kind of rolled this out semi recently, but I've been doing like end of day reports for a long time. So everyone on the team, I have like a framework where they can just kind of journal about their day and then drop it in a Slack channel. And I read through them. I reply to everybody. And then recently I kind of took that concept and turned it into one doc. So everybody, we just have this Google Doc that we all have access to. And every day we're just writing things and we sort of write out, again, I have like prompts that that we can use to sort of think through a problem. And it's like, again, most people wait to do that on a meeting. And then someone will share their opinion or their perspective, and then someone else shares their perspective, someone else shares their perspective, and next thing you know, there's like this great sounding like conversation, but it doesn't end in a decision, right? And so again, like I don't like waiting for a meeting to share the information. I think written thought is the clearest form of thought, and so I have the team write it out, and then when we meet once a week, everyone's aware, everyone's in sync, we know exactly what we're going to talk about. And then we can come to a decision very quickly. And so again, I think every single day, like people on your team should be writing through like what was a great thing that happened today? What was a win? What was your biggest challenge? What would have helped you? What do you feel like you need to do? Right? Or how can I support you? Right? If you're sending that to your manager, just writing those things out, I think helps a lot. And then having like I said, some sort of like the brain trust. I think that helps people say what they feel like they need to say and be radically honest and transparent about it. And so if you can have some sort of meeting once a week where if you're brainstorming about an idea, like make it a safe environment. Say, guys, this is a safe environment. Say exactly what you're going to say. Don't hold back. Don't take it personal. And then like continue digging for it, mining for it, and then like recognize, like praise people for it. If someone says, honestly, I hate the idea, it's like be like, thank you. Like that was honest. Now why? And just mine for it and keep going. So those are just a few tips I think that will help any team operate at a higher level.
Because it helps them cultivate a sense of belonging and a sense of feeling empowered and like their opinion matters. So I think a lot of the times employees feel like their opinion won't make a difference in the company, but in that way they actually feel like they're a part of something big together. Yeah.
There should be kind of like a sense of awareness that like the standard here is really high, and that if I'm on this team, I can meet that standard, and then your leader should hold your team accountable to that. So again, if you're ever like coming down on your team, and like, you may have to reprimand them or whatever, it's like I don't know who said it first, but there's a saying that says that the true test of a leader is if they can reprimand someone without them resenting them. And so I think the best way to do that is to properly communicate why you're reprimanding them is because you know that they are better. Like you know that they're not living up to their true potential. Sure. And so if you can cultivate a sense of belonging in your company, and when you have to give someone feedback, you say, look, I know, like I chose you for this role. I hired you. You're on this team. The standard here is really high. You're not meeting that standard, but I know you can. And so here's what I think you should do. And then show your support. What do you need from me to do that? And I think that's a really good way to cultivate really like high standards and a sense of belonging, even like a hard conversation.
That's so good.
That's good.
Yeah.